Welcome to the Lead at Home podcast, where every episode is about learning how to develop our parenting skills to achieve the best for our children. Here are your hosts, Sara Franco and Jala Gaines.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Lead at Home podcast. I'm here with my good friend Sara Franco, and my name is Jala, and today we're going to be talking about, in my personal opinion, a big one, how we lead at home with how we spend our time. So, Sara, start us off.
Yeah, well, I think there are some things that can rob us of time. And so for me, like just some time wasters, I guess some things, I'm going to start, for me, I'm starting where the struggle is.
Yeah.
And for me, some of my greatest struggles are social media and just electronics in general, my phone or the computer. And those are really the big ones for me. And I have to admit that they didn't really come into play. This is how old I am, Jala. They did not come into play until probably my last child. Okay. And I have to say, parenting without those things, I felt like it was a lot easier.
Really?
And it's nice to, like the way that I did it with my kids, I tried not to do too much TV, although we weren't completely without it. I kind of used that. I would bring that in when I was trying to make dinner, and I would just want them to be still in an area where I knew that they were safe, but I could still get something done. So that was kind of when I typically would bring out TV time or something. But the tablets now, I know I see kids all the time on phones and tablets in the grocery store, and of course on trips and everything. And I get it. We adopted, as you know, we adopted from Ethiopia. Very long trip home from Ethiopia. I would say maybe 16, 17-hour flight back.
That's crazy.
And so we have this 2-year-old little boy with us who really doesn't know us. I mean, met us less than a week prior to that and does not speak our language. So we had, coloring things, things to keep him busy and everything. And Sean had saved his battery life on his little, I don't even remember what we had at that point in time. Not an iPad, but something similar. And to watch videos. This child had never seen a television. So he had absolutely no interest. So it was, that was a little stressful at that point in time. We really wanted him to watch that TV. But I have to say, it was kind of interesting for me to understand, this isn't necessarily a natural thing that kids are drawn to. He was 2 years old and had absolutely no interest in it because he had never seen it before. Whereas by the time my girls were 2 years old, they were very interested and glued to the TV because they had been exposed to it for a while already. So I think just that reminder of, how we spend our time. Are we being intentional? Obviously, not every single moment of every single day is going to be spent intentionally,
Yes, that's not possible.
It's just not possible. We're human. But I think just trying to give a little more intentional thought to those kinds of things and how we're doing with that.
I feel like I've mentioned this on other episodes that we've done, but just kind of the whole example thing, I feel like, especially having a little toddler, I don't have older kids yet, but I feel like Luca tends to want to do what she sees me doing. So, when I'm not on my phone or whatever, I notice that she's not interested in it. I don't typically... My first default is not to let her watch TV. Jordan will put the TV on a little more for her than I would personally but she's not interested in something that I'm not interested in. If she sees me drawing, say I'm drawing or painting, for example, because I do like to do those things, she'll want to do that with me. If she sees me in the kitchen cooking, she'll be pick me up, I want to watch. So really just modeling for your children, like, there are more things to do than just looking at screens. I feel like to them, it's like it opens up their eyes. They're able to see life through yours, which is really cool. Also, I think another huge part of it is, while we're on the topic of how we spend our time, I also think it's important for parents especially to make time for themselves so that they're, like, recharged for their kids. I know for me, like, taking time away from my daughter, away from my husband, I'm able to, like, recharge. I'm able to, you know, do my own interests, and then when I come back to them, I'm ready to be intentional. I'm ready to give them what they need. I'm ready to, you know, entertain or...
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I really struggled with that when I was a young mom. I
felt
so guilty, such false guilt of leaving my kids to do anything for myself. And my kids, you know, I would go work out at the gym, and my kid, you know, I hear about these parents who go and do that, and my kids love it in the childcare. My kids did not. They did not, and I felt so horrible leaving them in there because I knew they hated it so much. And so, you know, I think though, looking back, if I were to do it again, I would definitely do that. Just make more time for myself, make more time to go out with my husband and make that a priority. And not, you know, not that we didn't at all, because we had grandparents that lived close by, so that was nice. But even with that, I felt guilty. I just felt like these are my kids. I'm the one that needs to be taking full care of them. And, you know, and so there's a balance. You know, I think that's as humans, I think we tend to just vacillate from one extreme to the other, but it's really important to find balance in every area of life. And I think even just in how you're spending your time too. And, you know, doing things that are going to create, you know, a healthy version of yourself. So whether that is exercise or friendships, and bringing the kids along for some of those things too, not necessarily always leaving them at home or with a babysitter or anything, but allowing them to experience that too. Doing things, you know, think about like, okay, so if I am expecting my child to make good use of their time, let's say when they're a student, and I want them to make sure they're making good use of their time, they're studying, they're doing what they need to do, and not wasting the time. Have I modeled that for them? Have I brought them up along the way doing that so that it's not some completely different thing that they've never done? And I think in the end, we've got to, you know, keep in mind the end goal here, at least for me, the end goal is not for my children to stay living with me the rest of my life. I love my kids, but I want them to be independent. That's how it was made to be. And so in order for them to be independent at some point, you know, you want them to be spending time doing useful things in life, giving to other people. So maybe it is, as a family, we're going to go take cookies to the firemen, or we're going to make a meal for someone in need, you know, something like that you can do in terms of spending your time to invest in others' lives as well. You know, we have a food bank here. You can volunteer there. There's a lot of different volunteer opportunities that you can do with your children to model that. And that's a good way also of spending your time, investing in lives of other people. And I think sometimes we can, the video games and the electronics are easy go-to because kids are out of your hair. They're not, you know, constantly, mom, you know. What we tried to do is we didn't say no video games at all in our house, but it was a kind of a limit as far as time. Like, okay, you've spent enough time. And as much as we would love for our children to dictate what that is, they are not going to keep track. You kind of have to be the bad guy and like cut them off and like, okay, now it's time to do something else and redirect them into something else. And I will say, like, in our house, I feel like that's worked really well. Because while my son enjoys video games, it's not his first go-to. So, and he'll play it for a little bit and then he's done. He isn't really interested in spending hours on it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know there's some study out there. I don't even know what exactly it's called or where to find it, but like kids that spend more time outside and spend more time like reading and writing, they grow up to have, like, statistically they grow up to have more like enriching and colorful lives, because
that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, it's self-explanatory. And so that's something that's definitely a goal for me as a parent, to just make sure, Luca is going outside and getting creative and using her imagination and reading and like history.
But let's face it, that does require sacrifice on our part.
No, it does, because, you have to facilitate that. You have to be the one to take them outside. You have to watch them while they're outside. You have to, scan their books, make sure they're reading things that are good for them to read. So it's...
Yeah, it takes sacrifice and work on our part and can be really tiring. So it definitely is not the easier route to go, for sure. No. But in the end, I think when you look back, that is, it's just definitely a better way to go overall. It's going to be a better for them. And then for yourself, I think for me, it kind of helps keep me in check. Because, again, if I don't want... my son on his video games for hours, then I really shouldn't be on my phone playing games or on Facebook or Instagram or whatever for hours either. Yeah. And those things can suck you in without even realizing you spent all that time. Yes. So I think just, whether that's set a timer for yourself or just, not that you can't ever do it, but again, balance. Moderation. So yeah, I think that's great.
I feel like all of our episodes should just be lead with intentionality, because I feel like that's what it always ends up being about. Like,
that's so
here's
true.
the topic, but just be intentional.
That's so true. Yes. And in the end, it really is true. As parents, you can be intentional or not. And I think it's just there's one or the other. Yeah. And I have to admit, I'm not always the most intentional with those things. Sometimes I'm just kind of a roll with it. Like, let's just see how, like, which way the wind's blowing, Yeah. But I definitely can see now that I am on the other end too and have adult children, that it really does pay off. I promise, parents. It really will pay off to do these little things that, again, they're exhausting, and and you know what? If there's a day in there that you're like, I can't, it's okay. Yeah, it's all right. Beat yourself up. Yeah, and so as we talk about these things, the goal is not perfection. No. And the goal isn't like you've got to do this all the time or you failed. No, it's just to grow. Really, growing and learning. And just understanding these little things make a difference, and they add up over time. It's an exponential thing where over time you're going to see that growth. You're going to see that change in your child. Well, you might not see a change. You might just see like they grew, but you can look back and go, okay, it would have been different if I had done some things differently. And so Jayla and I are just here to encourage you. We want you to be able to look back and say, you know what? I'm glad of the little choices that I made along the way. And so in any way that we can help you do that, we definitely want to do that. Please feel free in the comment section to let us know if there is a topic that you want us to talk about that would really help you out. We would love to talk about it.
Yes, and if you'd like to listen to any of our other episodes, you can visit Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We're all over the place. So
watch out.
Watch out for us. We hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Go spend your time wisely.
Yes, bye.
Bye.